So can you hear us? Good, good, good. Yes, I can hear you. Let's see here. You can hear it loud and clear. Okay. We will start very soon. So hang in there about 5 minutes or less, maybe 2 minutes.
No, I'm close to the phone. Oh, okay.
Well, it sounds like I'm far.
Yes, it sounds
Okay, let me
far.
try and use the headset and see.
Oh, but we can hear you loud and clear in the studios, though.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay. So we don't change you. Sammy says you can hear.
Oh, okay. If you can hear me, then that's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear.
All right, so let's see. In 1 minute, so.
Auntie Love, are you on?
Thank you, thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Alrighty, so alright, so welcome to the Inspired Radio. We are very excited once again to bring to you and to your families and into your homes our monthly marriage seminar. But before we start today's section, I want us to say a word of prayer. So please, with all humility, if you don't mind, let's say a word of prayer. Father, in the mighty name of Jesus, we give you glory, we give you praise, we give you adoration. We want to thank you for your mercies, and we want to thank you for your love. We want to thank you for your care, and we also want to thank you for the opportunity to be in your presence. Lord, as we gather again this month to help marriages sustain, we pray that your holy presence shall be in the midst of us. You will bless Reverend and Mrs Asare Bediako. You will also bless Mr and Mrs Crabbe. And Lord, bless our listeners so that we will all have good time together in your presence. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Alrighty, so folks, what role does mental health plays in marriage? What signs indicate that we need to see a therapist? Well, these are very powerful questions to ask. But to all things, we have subject matter experts. And so today our topic will focus on your marriage and mental health, a delicate dance. And we are so privileged, all the way from Georgia, Reverend and Mrs Asare Bediako will be our special guest. But be assured, Mr and Mrs Crabbe will be behind the scene and chime in when appropriate. Therefore, to this point, please fasten your seatbelt, let your questions come in, and I hand it over to Reverend and Mrs Asare Bediako. Thank you.
mental, because the health of your mind. So your mind can be sound, where you be mentally sound. Therefore, you'll be in good mental health. And then when your mind illness or all the other terms that we can give to it. So I just wanted to bring that difference before we continue. And we also know that when two people come from different backgrounds, cultures, or homes and are married, it's like two people brought up in different ways, two different ideologies, two different ways of doing things and all that. So when you come together, definitely, and I'm sure that Mr. and Mrs Crabbe have talked about this several times, that when two people come together, there has to be that intentional ability, or we have to make up our minds. The two parties have to make up their minds that we are going to live together and work together. That's also something that takes place in the mind, which is mental. Like, you decide that I want to live with this person. But we also understand that because we are in this world and we think differently, and of course there are things that can affect the way we think. Once the way we think is affected negatively, it's going to spill into the way we behave, because everything that we do starts from the mind. So having drawn this distinction and this little introduction, I'm going to hand over to Reverend Asare Bediako to give a little further explanation and talk about some of the ways that mental illness can affect our marriage, and then we will continue from there. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So, as discussed, or as stated earlier, we have people who deal with mental illness, which is a condition or a disease of the brain. So when we talk about mental illness, that is where it goes into the disease stage, right? So somebody may be diagnosed with schizophrenia, or somebody may be diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Those, for example, are mental illnesses. I don't even call it a negative connotation. It's just a condition. Just like somebody will be diagnosed with high blood pressure, or somebody will be diagnosed with diabetes, or somebody will be diagnosed with some disease that a medical doctor will tell you have. Mental illness, whether it's schizophrenia, schizoaffective, bipolar, whatever it is a form of illness which, with proper medication and proper management, a person can live with, just like somebody with diabetes or whatever it is. Then we also have what we call the personality disorders. Personality disorders are also things that people have, like somebody may be a borderline personality disorder, somebody may have sociopathic personality disorder, or whatever it is. Those are also different, right? And then we also have people who deal with everyday stresses or everyday issues that overwhelm them. And when a person is overwhelmed and they are not functioning at the level or the capacity that they should function, they behave in certain ways that may not be normal of them. So I will not focus in dealing with this on just mental illness, but I want to classify all these three together that I spoke about and call it mental health issues, because whether it's the person dealing with a personality disorder, or the person dealing with postpartum depression, or the person dealing with schizophrenia, it will still affect you and your marital relationship in certain ways. So I want to start by talking about some of the ways in which, whether it is a condition that developed or it's a kind of permanent condition or whatever it is, some of the ways in which it affects you, right? It is also very, very important to understand that some of these conditions that are there before marriage. Some of them come up after marriage. Some of them run in families and all these things. And so it is very important for anybody entering into marriage to actually know what they are getting into, to better prepare for it, or after you are married, when you see certain things, to fully understand and to be able to effectively manage it. So let's talk about some of the ways in which mental health issues affect marriages. The number one thing I will talk about is the emotional disconnection that happens when people are dealing with mental health issues. You know, can you also hear me?
Yes.
So the number one thing that I want to talk about is the emotional disconnection that people who are dealing with mental health issues typically exhibit, and how it impacts your marriage. So you realize that with emotional disconnection, it happens with people maybe dealing with depression or dealing with anxiety or some kind of condition that affects them mentally, and because of that they become emotionally distant, you know. And the moment people become emotionally distant, either due to the fact that they are unable to express how they are fully feeling, or because they cannot engage with their partners, or whatever it is, it leads to strained relationships. So it is very, very important to understand that the emotional disconnection piece that comes with emotional distancing leads to strained relationships. You know, you are in a relationship with somebody. Your wife had a baby. I like using practical examples. Maybe your wife had a baby, and after that she has sunk into postpartum depression. She's in the room. She has the curtains closed. She's not talking to you. She is not communicating with anybody in the house, and everything is upside down, and you can't cheer her up. You don't know what to do, and all that. It leads to strained relationships, you know, or somebody will come home and will be like, I don't know what's wrong with her. The whole house is upside down, and this, the house is dirty. I can't stand this. And so mental issues that has to do with emotional disconnection leads to strained relationships. Another thing that is also common with people who are dealing with mental health issues is the issue closely tied to this is communication breakdown. You know, people dealing with mental illness sometimes find it difficult, you know, to openly and honestly express how they are feeling, you know, and sometimes because of that, it leads to a lot of misunderstandings, you know, and resentment. So the other partner may be here. You need to snap out of this. Why don't you just snap out of this? This has been going on too long. I can't take it any longer. You know, I remember a couple of months ago, I was talking to a man whose wife had an accident, and there was insurance involved and all that. And after that, the wife became very paranoid, thinking that the insurance people are following her. And for about 2 years, it was so bad. It was seriously bothering him, and he didn't know what to do about it and all that. You know, so there was a communication breakdown. And whenever there is a communication breakdown, you know, it impacts marriages negatively. I believe that Mr and Mrs Crabbe has spoken a whole lot about the importance of communication and open communication in marriage. You know, another thing that mental health issue leads to, is when there is increased stress, because the person who is suffering from whatever it is may feel guilty, about how they are feeling or what's going on. They may feel some kind of shame, and the person who is the other partner may also feel overwhelmed, So it leads to a lot of stress, increased stress. Every partner is stressed. The one dealing with mental illness thing or mental health issues think that you don't understand me, you don't understand my stress, you don't understand my anxiety, you don't understand what I'm dealing with, and the other person is also worried about, this is too much, I didn't know this was what I was getting into and all that. So mental health issues can lead to all of these things. Another thing or another problem that mental health issues lead to is financial difficulty. And why do I say financial difficulty? Because sometimes when people are dealing with certain serious mental health issues, they don't have the mindset or the ability to maintain proper employment. So here you are, you have the head of the family, he was doing very well. Now all of a sudden something has happened and he cannot hold a job. And the whole family is suffering. I remember a couple of years ago, a man that I saw that was dealing with panic disorder, and it was so bad, he quit his job, he was not working, they were behind on their bills, they were behind on their mortgage, they were behind on everything, and at one point, he was even refusing to get out of the house. And this was somebody that was doing so well with no sign, nothing, and then the whole family was in financial distress. So mental health issues can sometimes lead to some of these things. And another thing is that it also has the ability to impact, intimacy, because when people are not engaging, when people are dissatisfied, when people are stressed, and when people are dealing with all the other things that is going on, the desire to engage in any kind of sexual intimacy is just not there, because you have so many things going on that is the last thing you are thinking about, and sometimes that can seriously have impact on relationships, that also leads to another thing, which is usually the high risk of divorce, because when people don't know what they are dealing with, when people are confused, when people are not happy with what they are dealing with, and it ended up in a divorce. So mental health can impact marriage in so many ways. There are people who, because of mental health issues, are in relationships, but they feel lonely. They feel lonely because they don't know how to deal with their spouse. We have certain spouses that, because of mental health issues, have gotten to the place where they are very abusive. Mental health issues come in so many forms. Some people are very abusive. Some people are emotionally abusive. Some people are physically abusive, and that becomes a problem in their marriage. There are some people who become very, very jealous. They are suspicious because of paranoia. A couple of years ago, I was talking to a lady who felt very uncomfortable because she realized that the husband, out of paranoia, had put the tracking device in her car. There were hidden cameras in her house, all kinds of things, and she was not comfortable at all. And she was wondering where this was leading to. There are people who are dealing with anger issues. They come home and everybody wants to find a place to park. Their spouses are not happy. There are people who are violent. So mental health, when properly not dealt with, can create all of these issues. Let me briefly touch about some of the ways in which we can address some of these things, and then I'll allow to add a couple of things, and then we open it up to questioning. But in addressing mental health issues, they say that number one, knowledge is power. So number one, it is important to know and to understand what a person is dealing with. And that's why programs like this are so important, because people become aware of what is out there, and people don't live in isolated bubbles where they don't have a clue what is going on. So if you have mental illness or your spouse has any form of mental illness, it is very, very, very important, to gain as much knowledge as you can about whatever condition they are dealing with, because that's the number one thing that will better equip you to know how to deal with the issue, right? Whether it's depression or anxiety or bipolar or schizophrenia or a personality disorder. Knowledge is power. The second thing that we talk about is that if you realize that the mental health challenges or issues that are going on in your family is beginning to affect the family in a negative way, we say seek professional counseling, because a professional counselor may be able to guide you and explain certain things better to you, give you some coping tools with which you'll be able to better manage whatever it is that you have going on. Another tool that you can use to deal with mental illness is when there is an open, line of communication where a person does not feel ashamed to talk about how they are feeling or what is going on within them, and there is no judgment pass, there is no pointing and all that, and there is an open line of communication and a safe space has been created. So when you create safe spaces in marriage where a spouse or a partner can talk about what is going on with them without feeling like I'm going to be judged or I'm going to be whatever, then it kind of helps, because that alone in and by itself is relieving. The other thing we also talk about, connected to this knowledge is power, is that even the individual who might not necessarily be the one suffering from the mental illness can sometimes get individual counseling, and that kind of helps give you some coping mechanism and coping tools how to effectively manage your spouse that has mental illness. Again, it is also important, like I said, that if you are going to be the one providing support, to be fully aware. Not too long ago, I had a couple who came to me for couples counseling, and as they sat there and I started asking them questions, the lady disclosed that she had a borderline personality disorder. So I asked the guy, do you know about, is this the first time you have heard it? He said, no, I've heard it before. She told me she had borderline personality disorder. And so I asked him, do you know what borderline personality disorder is? He had no clue. And here he was trying to marry a woman who has told you she has borderline personality disorder. My antennas went up. Before the next session, she had called the police on her because she did something typically very borderline, and he couldn't understand what the world on earth would make her do such a thing, but I knew, hey, that is to be expected, because one of the things she was seeking was attention, whether it's negative attention or positive attention, she needs attention. He wasn't giving her the attention, so she did something extremely crazy to get his attention. And he was like, this is sick. But I said, yeah, but you don't understand. You are dealing with somebody with borderline. If you understood the concept of what borderline is and what you are dealing with, then you'll be better equipped for this. So I'm saying that understand, don't shy away, ask questions, know more, find about family history and all that. And the last thing that I will say is that it's also good to focus on self-care when there is a partner that is dealing with mental health issues, right? You, the person who is not dealing with it, or even the person dealing with it, you have to find other ways and means of keeping your spirit up, whether it's meditation, whether it's exercising, whether it's having good sleep, whether it's eating well, whatever it is that works for you, that relaxes you and helps you put yourself in a good space, so that you can effectively fight the challenge of the mental health issue together. So I'll stop here because if you leave me, I can talk forever. I'll stop here and I'll allow Love to add anything if she wants to add anything, or leave the space open for questions.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure that I have anything to add, but as we were preparing for this and I was thinking about it, the thought just came to me based on this topic and a few things that I have heard over the past several months, that I just understood very well the importance that our parents and our grandparents gave to doing background checks on people's potential spouses before they married. I know that nowadays it doesn't happen a lot because of modernization and people living in different places, but it's because of some of these issues, like the potential mental health issues, that families were very concerned, and they would want to do a thorough background check of a spouse. If you presented a person to the family, they would hire someone to go and find out. And one of the things that they usually looked out for was if there was any member of the family with mental health issues, because they knew that some mental health issues also are inherited. So that's just a thought that came to me and I wanted to bring out. But that's all I have to say. I know that there will be an opportunity to talk more when questions come. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs Crabbe. I know you are not subject matter expert on this topic, but if you want to chime in, that would be awesome as well. From a perspective, before we go to our listeners, I must say that our listeners have so far enjoyed the responses that has come so far. We've had over 25 questions in, which will keep us engaged. But I want to give Mr. and Mrs Crabbe the opportunity if there is something you want to add before we get into that. So.
Thank you so much, and thank you to Reverend and Mrs. Asare Bediako. The points we would like from our perspective to emphasize for all of us is the need to be honest and transparent about what we are either feeling or going through. We cannot really read each other's minds. However much you know somebody, you cannot completely know and understand what is going on in their mind. So, as couples, even when you're just talking, like people are saying, and you're getting close, just like the example Reverend gave, you're preparing to get married, it's important to share these things. And for some people, they may never have received help for the things they're going through or they have gone through. And, sometimes a traumatic event in the life of the person earlier can be a problem later on. So I believe I'm expecting in the questions, some issues may come up like that. Somebody who was raped as a child or as a teen, how it's going to affect them, their sex life later on in marriage. So those are things that we need to be honest about, so that we can get help. And then both of us, husband and wife, are helped. So thank you very much. And Mr. Sam, Dr. Sam, since you say you have 25 questions, let's not stand in the way. I'm sure the questions will help our esteemed guests to be able to give us some more. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So now let's first of all, just in case any of you have a question that you want to ask, just in case any of you have a question you want to ask, you are welcome to. If you are on the line, you can unmute yourself, and you will be able to ask the question directly. You can also send a text message or a WhatsApp message, country code +1, area code 571-337-9185. And if you're on YouTube, you can also put your question there and we will ask that on your behalf. What we usually do is that we, for security and privacy purposes, we don't mention the names of the individuals who ask the questions. But we will give a location, so just to give our listenership the opportunity to know which part of the world this question is coming from. So let's begin with the first 5 questions that came in, and this first question is coming from New Jersey, and it says, how might undiagnosed mental health condition silently erode the foundation of a marriage before either partner recognize what is happening? So that's the question. I don't know if Auntie Lillian or Reverend want to answer that.
So let me and after that I will leave it. When something is undiagnosed, what it means is that it's hidden, and even though it's hidden, there will be certain symptoms, which a person might observe. And if you observe, and in your marriage you have an open line of communication, one of the things that helps in marriage is honesty. So somebody may be married to a man that is, let's say, schizoaffective. You never knew that. You married them 4 or 5 years down the line. You start seeing some signs. You see him talking to himself when he shouldn't talk to himself, or is making saying certain things that doesn't make sense. You know what? Don't be ashamed to ask. Don't feel awkward to ask. Hey, are you okay? What is going on with you? Whatever it is, because the earlier you know, the more easy it is to help. Let me put it this way, and maybe it's a negative example, but let me still use it. It's like cancer. When you catch it early, you are able to deal with it. But when you don't catch it early and it becomes stage 4, then now the chances are less, So when you see certain changes in your spouse that doesn't make sense, question, explore, discuss it, and figure out together. So that it doesn't get out of hand. That's what I'll say for now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's Auntie Lillian adding something to it, or?
No, I think he's been straight to the point. So.
All right, that's fine. Oh, that's fine. So then let's get to our second question, which is coming from Sierra Leone. And it says that, in what ways does the stigma surrounding mental health prevent couples from seeking help, and how does this avoidance transform their relationships over time?
So the stigma is a thing that is peculiar to developing countries, where if you say that you have even a thing as depression, even if you admit that you are depressed or something, people look at you in a certain way. It's either maybe cultural or even gender bias can also be like, you have to be strong as, let's say, as a man or something, or even for anybody at all. Either that you are going to be looked at in a certain way, or you are going to be considered weak. So that prevents people from seeking help. Now, we know that in the developed world, it's not that way. But just like if you have a broken leg or a broken arm, and you do not go and get help, maybe you try to do your own things at home, it might heal, but the healing might not be complete. If we understand that mental illness it's not anything that you did. Just as if someone has hypertension or something, it's not something that you did. I mean, it could be, but basically, people are not shy to go out because of the way we have been socialized, the way society has seen things. But we have to understand, and that's one thing that I always used to tell my clients when I was working in the hospital. Like when maybe I went to see someone who needed to be hospitalized, and then they start giving all the reasons why they shouldn't be hospitalized. I just use that. I say, if right now you have a cut or something, and you have to put a Band-Aid on it, or it needs to be stitched, are you going to tell the doctor that, no, you go home with it like that? No. So, if you go home with it, I mean, you can decide to sign out AME and go home with it, but you risk getting infections, you risk getting bigger and deeper and more severe than if you work on it. So if we are able to overcome the stigma, we will be able to move forward, knowing that, especially if it is situational, something happens and you are depressed, or there's a history of schizophrenia in your family and you also have it. It is nothing that you did. It's not got to do with you. That is something you inherited. But unfortunately, yes, the stigma goes to affect us negatively if we do not seek help. One other reason why people are also afraid is maybe when they are thinking too much about what others will think about them. If we are able to look at what is good for us and defy what anybody else might think, then we'll be on the path to recovery and not nurturing something that we cannot do anything about. Thank you.
And to add a little to that, I think part also has to do with trust and fear that things that people consider secret, is going to be out there. In a lot of black and brown communities, they say that, you don't air your dirty laundry outside. And unfortunately, mental illness is considered a dirty laundry. So people want to hide it. If you get out of, when you have toothache and you hide it, you can hide the toothache. By the time it's going to come, you will suffer extremely, and undue and unnecessary pain, So if you think that this is dirty laundry, you don't want anybody to know, you want to hide it, you don't want people to be aware that you are dealing with this issue because you are shy or embarrassed or whatever it is, then it's going to create more problems for you. If you are not comfortable dealing with a provider that is close to where you are, you can go further to go and deal with another provider who doesn't know you in a neighborhood that you are not familiar with. But by all means, get the help and don't let the notion that when you are dealing with any kind of mental health issue, then there's something wrong with you. You are weakling or whatever. Don't allow that to affect you. That's the only way you can get the help. Let people think what they think, but you need the help. If you are drowning in a river, will you be embarrassed that you don't know how to swim, or will you be happy if somebody throw you a rope? That's the question.
Awesome response and awesome contribution. Thank you so much. All right, so let's continue with our question now. Let's head to, since we are already in West Africa, let's go to Nigeria. And it says that, how do the power dynamics within a marriage shift when one partner becomes a caregiver for the other's mental health needs? And what strategies help maintain equality in the relationship? I am actually writing based on my own experience. Thank you.
Okay. So I am trying to fully understand what they mean by power dynamics, because that's a little broad word that I'm just going to assume. I usually don't assume, but I'm just going to assume. So the assumption is they are asking if because of mental illness, one partner has less of a say-so than the other. And again, what I would say here is that if you understand that mental illness is just an illness, then it shouldn't affect really anything. If there's anything like a power dynamic, it shouldn't affect how a couple operates together. If your husband or your wife went to the hospital and they were diagnosed with diabetes, does that change any power dynamic? If they went to the hospital, they were diagnosed with high blood pressure or diagnosed with asthma, does that change power dynamic? No, you deal with whatever they have been diagnosed with the best way you can, while the two of you move forward. So the fact that somebody has been diagnosed with mental illness does not really make them less of a human being or less of a competent person, let me put it that way. And even in cases where it is schizophrenia or some extreme form of mental illness, where a person may not have the ability to make certain good decisions, and the other partner has to make that decision for them. Yes, you make the decision for them, but if for lack of better word, the marital contract doesn't change, whether it's a him or a her, right? The contract doesn't change. He is still your husband, she is still your wife, and you must afford that person the same level of respect. You don't disrespect somebody because they are dealing with a mental health condition. And so, to me, there shouldn't be really any change of power dynamics, but there should be a change in how you kind of show support and care.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Usually, I take a little pause because I assume Auntie Lillian may want to chime in, so that's why I usually take a pause. So, listeners, in case you see me take a pause, it's just because of that, So, thank you. All right. Let's continue, and let's come to the state of Virginia. A question from the state of Virginia, and it reads: what role does vulnerability play in healing when mental health challenges have damaged trust between couples?
The question again.
Sure. The question said, what role does vulnerability plays in healing when mental health challenges have damaged trust between couples?
Damage trust in what way? The mental health challenge damaged the trust, was it? Did the person do something as a result of their mental illness? Is that the case? Is that the idea?
Maybe I will ask the listener if possible to give a further explanation in writing, and then we would read that so to be much clearer. I think I'll do that. So I'll move on to the next question, and whilst we hope that the individual from Virginia will add more value, more content. So the next question, which is coming from New York, and it says that in what ways might mental health challenges actually strengthen a marriage when approached with compassion and understanding?
I think that the answer is even in the question.
That's what I thought.
Yes, when there's compassion and understanding, and you work together, just as the saying goes, that what doesn't break us will make us stronger. You are able to build a stronger bond because you were able to work together with compassion, understanding, and supporting one another. That will bring you close together. That's a short answer that I can give to that.
Awesome. All right. So the other question says that, and this is also coming from New York. It says, what responsibilities do individuals have towards their own mental health for the sake of their marriage, and where should these boundaries be drawn?
As far as taking care of our own mental health, we have all the many wellness things that we do for ourselves. So the things that affect us negatively, emotionally, let's say that it's just adopting basic good self-care. You know, if you are overworked or something like, let's say you are stressed at work, you come home. If you are not able to effectively handle the stress, it's going to affect you. And if you are stressed out and you get home, maybe your child does something, you just flip because something has already happened. If you are overworking yourself and you are tired, once you are not emotionally sound, or once you are under a kind of psychological stress, it's going to spill over to all other areas of your life. And the people who are affected the most are the people that are closest to you, the people that you live home with. So let's say your boss yells at you at work, you are not able to speak your mind, or you don't yell back or anything. If you are not able to process it well, and you are holding on to that, and you come home, maybe the slightest thing can make you snap at your spouse, your children, or the people who are closest to us. So it's very important that we are able to, first of all, take care of ourselves. And the things that we hear every day about self-care, eat well, make sure you have enough rest, because things like lack of sleep can also affect your mood, and then if things don't go well, it can spill over to the people around you. So it's all embodied in basic self-care, the things that your doctor will tell you every time, the things that you hear, the things that we have to do to make sure that our body is sound, because we are made of the spirit, the soul, and the body, and these three work together. So when one doesn't function well, it tells on the other parts of the body. Thank you.
And then to add to that, if it is the case that you have been diagnosed with something and you have been given medication, it is your responsibility to take it. Nobody has to force you to take it. I know of situations where people are refusing to take their medication and their spouses are trying to slip it in their food and all kinds of things, and that creates distrust and all kinds of things, be responsible for yourself. If you don't take, in my language, there is a saying that nobody drinks medicine for the sick person. You have to drink your own medicine, or you have to swallow your own pill. So whatever is expected of you to do, for the sake of your marriage, do it. Because if your mind is not healthy, then other aspects of your life will not be healthy. Amen.
I just want to add something also. There are some people who also, I don't know how they get to that conclusion that if you accept that, you have something, you will have it. So they refuse to accept what the doctor is saying. So they don't want to take the medicine. And sometimes, unfortunately, we Christians are also part of the problem. Some of the same, your Osofu friends are telling the patient that this is from the devil, don't accept it, so don't take the medicine. So that's why they don't take full responsibility to treat themselves and accept to take the medicine. So what do we do with such people too?
Yeah, that's unfortunate. We see it a lot, and I don't think that is ever going to end until Jesus Christ comes. People are always going to refuse to follow treatment the way they should. What we can do is to make sure that we are educating people, and we are also making people feel comfortable. I mean, not making people feel bad about being ill in one way or the other. But I think the biggest thing that we have to do is education. And the pastors too need education so that they can also understand. I know that there are some programs that have things like mental health coaching courses for churches, for individuals who want to become mental health coaches. I know that the American Association of Christian Counselors has the mental health coaching program, the full program, and it's just like, I think, $45 or $50 or something like that. And if churches can get people to take part in this course, if pastors can even go through this course, they will be able to understand some of the basics of mental illness, and they will be able to better help their congregation members. And so being a pastor, the church is a community. It's like it reaches out to people. So pastors should also be able to get to that place where they will enroll in courses like these so that you can get the knowledge. Church elders, church leaders, church counselors, you enroll in it. They are able to help to do basic counseling, and then when they have to when they see that this is beyond just coaching, then they can refer to a counselor or a psychiatrist. So education is the way to go. It's going to be there, but it will reduce it to a large extent. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. This is good. Now let's see the next question, and this is coming from all the way from Utah, and it says that how does financial strains created by mental health treatments affect the power balance and security within a marriage?
Power balance and security, financial strain. So when it comes to mental health, the financial strain comes in two forms. One form is either one partner not being able to work simply because they are dealing with a mental health issue. Let me give an example. Sometimes in certain homes, women are actually the breadwinners. You know, a woman who is the breadwinner, who is the one bringing in the bacon, goes to give birth. After birth, she sinks into postpartum depression. She can't go to work, and it becomes stress on the family. You know, that doesn't change power balance. At some point, with help, with medication, whatever, she's going to get better, right? But in the meantime, the same way you will deal with any issue that crops up, God forbid, if it was cancer or if it was something and one person can't work, it will still create that same kind of financial challenge. I think that because of the impatience people have with mental illness, there is a greater annoyance when it has to do with mental illness. You hear people say, hey, go and see, he's in the house. He's not doing anything. He says he's depressed. He has pulled out the window. An able-bodied man, instead of him to go out and work, he's there saying he's anxious. You know, so these kinds of things, it's the way we talk about it with our mouth that creates problems for some of us. And again, it goes to the fact that we have not come to the place of accepting that the issue is really an issue. We trivialize it, you know. We trivialize somebody being paranoid or anxious or depressed or super stressed or whatever. But if we understand that it's a real condition, then we understand that yes, it's affecting us financially right now. But number one, how are we going to manage our finances? So that's one that you talk to a financial counselor about. If it is the case that because of the treatment a person is receiving, the family is dealing with financial issues, you figure out what tools are there to help you to manage the medication or be able to purchase the medication or whatever it is. Again, these are not things that anybody plans for, but as it comes, counseling sometimes can help you. Professional counselors can sometimes help you, you know, look at things that you have not looked at, even if it's medication or if you're seeing doctors. A lot of professional counselors and psychologists will know where you can get treatment for cheap or next to nothing, you know, so some of these things are there. But when you talk about the power balance, like I said again, you know, somebody having an issue shouldn't really change power balance in marriage. That shouldn't cause any form of somebody thinking they are better than the other.
Awesome. Yes, once again, to our listeners, in case you want to ask a question, you are able to do that directly as well. It's just about 8 o'clock p.m. We have 1 hour more to go. So please, don't hesitate. Let your questions come in and we will ask the questions. And I know some of you have tested me on the side that Mr. Crabbe has been very quiet. I know, I respect him a lot. He knows that this is not his strength area, so he's allowing the subject matter experts to handle that. So please, don't push him too much. Uncle Richard, it looks like folks want to hear your voice on the subject as well. But let's go to the next.
Don't worry. As somebody said, I know my level.
All right, so let's go to the next set of questions that we have here as well. And this question is coming from the US, and it says that what can a person do for a partner or a spouse who is feeling anxious or deeply worried about the threat of being laid off in the light of recent cuts in the federal workforce?
That threat is very real. I personally know people who have been even know of a family where both the man and the woman were working for the federal government, and all of a sudden both of them were unemployed. They have a mortgage to pay, they have bills to pay, they have children to feed, they have school fees to pay, and car notes to pay, and all that, and that, yes, can create extreme stress. And there is also the high fear of the person who has not been laid off yet, thinking that they are about to be laid off. Actually, last week, I was talking to one of my clients who is a federal employee who told me they are seriously looking for another job, even though they've not heard of anything, and they were super anxious, So these are things that are in the system. I don't know whether to call it political or whatever you want to call it. I'm not a political person in that respect. But here is the thing. Before it gets there, right? Sometimes the fear of it is unrealistic, And so one of the things that we tell people to do is mindfulness, mindfulness, being here in the present, and Jesus said it in his parable. I'm a pastor, so I think I'm allowed to use a Jesus example. Jesus said it he says that sufficient for the day is the trouble thereof. He said that which of you by thinking or stressing can add a strand of hair to their hair and all that good stuff. So it is real. The threat is real. The fear is real. But if it is something that you don't have the power to change, then you know what? Be grateful for the present, and instead of being worried, figure out, what are my options? Because sometimes if you sit down and you realize that, I have options, you will not be afraid of what is to come. Yes, they may lay me off from this job, but what are the options? What can I do? How can I survive? And these are things that I think that everybody must actually think about, whether you're a federal employee or not, have the second and third options. They are good things to practice as a person, so that if something should happen, you won't be caught off guard. But I think that the fear is that the person is afraid they are going to be caught off guard, they are going to be unemployed, they are going to, if you are the partner, you can give them the assurance, we are going to work through this together. The issue has not come up yet. Why are you stressing about it? The time to stress about it will come. If and when it comes, it may never even come. Because these days, by the grace of God, they have slowed down on the firing. So I hear. If it's not so, then I'm mistaken. But again, don't worry about something you don't have control over. Sufficient for the day is the trouble thereof. Practice mindfulness. How am I feeling right now? What's going on right now? Be present. Enjoy what you have. And don't worry about what you don't have control over. I use this bad broad example. Everybody alive will die one day, but nobody sits down thinking about the day of their death or how their funeral will be, even though you know you will die one day. And so, if that is the notion we have, then live life in the present. Don't worry about all those things, and figure out what you will do should it happen.
Thank you. I thank you so much. I want to draw an example from, I think it was last month's topic. We were talking about dealing with crises in marriage. And so we can put this under that umbrella and look at one of the ways we said we can handle this. One is actually voicing out what you're going through. I'm scared. I'm not sleeping well. Maybe your spouse is sleeping well. I'm talking about the married people. Your spouse sleeps very well, but you are not. It might even cause resentment. Look at how he's sleeping, and I'm suffering. Look at how she's sleeping. I can't sleep. So voice out what's happening. This is when you need to talk together, be honest with each other about it, talk about it together. And then, as Reverend said, this also came up, brainstorm. Nothing has happened, so discuss the what if. What if this happens? What shall we do? Draw up plans together. It might, okay, what will it mean? We might have to cut here, we might have to do this, okay? Do that together rather than trying to do it all by yourself. Now, if you are single, you can do this on your own, but where it begins to overwhelm you, as we've heard, seek help. Talk to someone to help you. If the financial thing is scaring you because you've just got a home or you've just rented, you've just bought a car, etc., etc., and you're going to be liable for so many expenses, talk with somebody in finance, and have them work with you. You walk into your bank, they have these people who are there who do it, and you can get that help for free. So get help. So if you're married, talk together candidly, honestly, brainstorm plans, discuss the what ifs, so at least you are not caught unawares. And then, if you are single, work through it yourself, seek help where you can't, And, as Reverend said, it does not hurt to ask God for wisdom. So we pray too, because He's the one who knows tomorrow. We don't. And He knows that better than anyone else. Thank you.
This is where it comes in handy that two are better than one. So when you voice out your worries, your fears to your partner, that's when all of us have to be supportive. When your husband or your wife tells you about their fears, that is why you are there, to encourage each other, to pray with each other. That's when we who believe in Christ have the advantage. You have a rock, so you can encourage each other and pray with each other. Let's give it to God. Bring it to the Lord in prayer and be supportive. Yes, I understand. Don't belittle it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes some people risk your mind, stop thinking that the person is thinking. So
it's my mind, that's why it's mental.
Encourage the person, pray with the person, and then see all the options that you can have and what you can do. That is the way we can support each other. Mm. Thank you.
Yes.
Wow. Awesome. This is good. I love the fact that we've heard from all of our panelists and this is good. All right, great. So now let's go. Let's come back to Virginia. Another question from Virginia, and say, how might societal expectations about marriage itself contribute to mental health challenges within relationships, and how can couples create healthier narratives?
So let me take a stab.
Okay, go ahead, answer.
Yes, let me take a stab at this before, because they're talking about societal expectations and what they might contribute. So let me say some of what the person is not asking. You are not married. So everybody's, when are you getting married? That itself can stress you. You go to a wedding, you come back home, your mom looks at you and says, hey, so when will we also go to your wedding? If you're a woman, you may have heard this already. And the guys, I remember as a single man, I think it was my third or fourth wedding I had attended, after graduating from university. And one of my aunties, in the house when I came back, said, hey, today too, another wedding. So when is yours coming? So it's not only the, women who suffer this, you see. So it's important for us to know what, as we've heard already, what we can control. And also, we need to prepare our minds for the fact that these questions will be asked. You see, it doesn't mean we will not be hurt by them, but at least you know it's coming. So the experts will tell us it's a way, if you prepare your mind for it, and we're talking about mental health, you know, if you prepare your mind for it, it takes the sting out of it. Now, fast forward, you're married. What's the next question? When are you going to have children? It's been 2 years. We haven't seen anything. We haven't heard anything. Even if you have one, they're asking when is the next one. You know, it doesn't stop. And it may not only come from parents. Sometimes we tell some of our younger couples, you know what, your parents are asking you the same questions because they're also suffering from peer pressure. Their colleagues' parents, I mean their friends who are also parents, maybe they got 3, 4, 5 grandchildren and they don't have any, you know. So your mom meets her friends, they're talking. She can't talk any, she has no grandchildren to talk about. So you then know that the issue is not your issue, but she is also passing on some of what she can't carry to you. So let's prepare our minds for some of these expectations, you know, and that would help us. And then within the marriage, these are issues we can talk about, you know, and for some of us, we also need to be careful who we are talking to or who we are looking up to in that regard. You know, the fact that your friend has had 2 children in 2 years or 3 years doesn't mean you should also have the same. You see, the fact that your friends have bought a home doesn't mean you also need to buy a home now. Your circumstances may be totally different. And so when we talk of societal expectations, we need ourselves as individuals and as couples to make our own determinations and expectations rather than have others dictate to us what we should do. Because the more we do that, and this is the age of influencers, yes, so that's why we've asked the question before on this podcast. Who are you listening to? Who are you following? Are they making your life better or they're creating more anxiety in you? We have singles who listen to this program and you've seen, you know, your friend, they went on photo shoot in Florida and they are having destination wedding in Mexico. Now your wedding is coming up. You are stressing your partner. And you guys just don't have the cash to do that. So why are you messing yourselves up? This is not the system or anybody doing it. This is just you bringing it on yourself. Because you're not being realistic. And 2, the question is it necessary that you should have the same pattern as your 3 buddies with whom you've been friends all along? So societal expectations should remain societal expectations. What are your own expectations? From our perspective, we think those are the most important for our individual lives and our lives as a couple. Thank you.
Asare, you agree?
Yes, Reverend, you and Auntie Love, you might have some more.
So in addition, and you said most of the things I was going to say, but in addition to it, I think that it's important for, even for your own mental health, to be self-aware. You know, self-aware. Who am I and what defines me? You know, and so if what they are saying is not who you are, why are you letting it bother you? What defines you? You know, are you going to let other people define you? So here's the thing: if you don't know who you are or what defines you, then every wind that blows in any direction gets you, because it's like you sat in a car to drive, but you don't know the destination you are going. Life is not a competition; it's not a race. You stop comparing yourself with others and don't let others force you to compare yourself to anybody. know yourself, know your pace. The other day I was on a walk with my son, and then he kept on saying, Daddy, you need to walk faster. I said, no, I don't need to walk faster. Well, can you catch up? I said, no, I'm not trying to catch up. I'm here to exercise. It's not a race. Maybe when you are my age, you will know and understand. But the whole point is, if you know yourself, why would I give myself a extra stress and a heart attack maybe because I'm trying to be catch up with the space? No. So know yourself, understand your place, understand who you are, where you are heading. Everybody is towards a different direction. So don't let what others do distract you. I think that even the Bible says that don't fret yourself because of what other evildoers are saying or doing. Don't fret because of whatever else somebody else is doing. Know yourself, know what you want, know where you are going. If even in your case it's a challenge, understand that yes, this is my challenge that I am dealing with, but it's my own business. The people who are talking, they are not coming here to resolve my issue for me or anything. So why do you give them that power? Stop giving other people power over your life.
Wonderful.
Very good, very good, very good responses, and many more questions are coming in. So that's also a good sign of folks enjoying the conversation so far. So we love it as well. Let's look at this question coming from Sierra Leone again, and it says that what are the early warning signs that mental health issues are beginning to damage your marriage and a relationship? So can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I thought Love was answering that. That was why I was quiet for a second. So what are the signs that mental health issues are beginning to damage your relationship? Is that the question?
That's the question,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. So there are certain things that you will see, when, like I said, there is the disconnection, there is the distrust, there is the lack of intimacy. You are with the person that you are feeling lonely, you don't want to be around them, you are talking less and less, and you are finding ways and means to avoid your partner and all that. When those things begin to happen, you know that your relationship is in trouble, and so these are common things that anybody can see. You and your partner are in the house, but basically you are not talking about anything because of their depression or their anxiety or their anger or whatever it is, and it has gotten to the point where you can go days without talking, or to the point where some people even dread going home, and all that. Then you know that it's actually affecting you and you need help.
Great. Until so initially, Reverend thought you were going to respond because he knows very well that you have an answer to this. So let's give you the opportunity. Let's not deny you and deny our listeners from hearing that from you.
No, so I think that it's with thing in life. If let's say you are sick, you have a headache, therefore, if you are someone who usually wakes up early and gets your kids ready to school, because you have a headache or you have a migraine or you're sick, you are not able to. It's obvious that you would have loved to do it, but then the fact that you have a physical illness is preventing you from doing that. So it's the same thing with the mental illness. So if the relationship is no longer the way it used to be, and like
Reverend said, communicating, you are no longer communicating like that, and you feel like you are drawing away from each other, then these are signs. And you in the marriage or in the relationship, you will know it yourself when you see it, because then the way things used to flow, it's not like that anymore. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that with our listeners as well. So the other question that we have here, it's also coming from Ghana, and it says that I think it's similar. It all falls under maybe warning signs because it's similar to what was asked. But for the sake of honoring the individual who sent it, I will read it. It says, "How can couples recognize they have moved beyond normal mental stress into territory requiring professional help?"
And it's affecting your everyday life, because sometimes, let's say, in which diagnosis of depression. You are diagnosed with depression when this thing has gone on for about 2 months, and then the bottom line is it begins to affect your everyday functioning. So when the everyday functioning is affected, things are no longer the way it used to be, and it's going on for a while, then you know that it's time to seek help or to talk about it if you have not already done that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any addition from our panelists?
No, that's fine. Stop it. Good.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So the next, the other question we have here, also from Ghana, it says, "How might one pass? What patterns of interaction signal that mental health challenges rather than simply personality differences may be at play?" Let me read that again just for clarity. It says that what patterns of interaction signal that mental health challenges rather than simply personality differences may be at play.
Isn't it the same question asked differently? Until go ahead.
Yeah, I think that we might have answered this in a different way already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's say personality differences. So first of all, let's say you are married to a person. You know their personality. You know that if they don't like talking, you know that already. If they are talkative, you know that already. So if, let's say that a person who doesn't like talking has become exceptionally quiet or more than that, then you know that this is not just the person's normal, regular, I don't like talking, but then it looks like there's something going on. If the person is talkative, but then you see that after this level of talkativeness, it's gone beyond, like the person has become manic, then you know that this needs help. So in all these, we have to work with a baseline. The baseline is when everything is all right, how the person is. Then any deviation from the baseline far beyond what it normally is, then you will know. So it's basically a very distinct deviation from the baseline of an individual. That would be your pointer that there's something not actually going on right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this is from PA, I believe it will be Pennsylvania, and it says that I'm really enjoying this conversation. Thank you all for your vast knowledge. My question is, it appears that the questions coming in suggest that mental health. I want to be very clear. Is mental health different from mental behaviors? Because I'm saying this because marriage in itself is exhausting and itself can be considered mental health. Is it right? So I'm laughing because Reverend Crabbe and I were just talking about this a few moments ago. That it's marriage itself, not the mental health.
Mary, I'll just say a little bit, and then I'm sure Uncle Richard, being with his several years of experience counseling people, will be able to say. But before you get married to a person, you have to decide. I mean, you decide that this is the person you want to get married to. So that decision that you are making, you are making up your mind. So that alone is something that's happening in your mental faculty, which we talked about at the beginning. Now, marriage in itself is work. It's work like anything. I mean, I am yet to see anything in this life that is not difficult. You know, everything has its challenges, everything has its advantages and disadvantages. So at the end of the day, it's going to depend on the individuals, how you handle your challenges, and the mindset with which you approach your challenges, because challenges are there in marriage as they are in every area of life. Thank you.
And it's the mindset, yes, is important. If you have been told, some people, you see, when it's implanted in your mind, marriage itself is a mental health. So you are already looking out for all the trouble that you will see. So every little thing, you know, you think that, hey, this is it. Yes, there is no relationship that doesn't have problems. You know, we have issues. It is the way we deal with the issues. If we can talk about it, if we can reason with each other and not take the other, your partner as an enemy, or, you know, they don't want me to do well, they want my... Some people believe my husband wants my downfall, my wife wants my downfall, and so, you know, everything they do, you are interpreting it to be something else. It may not be that serious, but you are interpreting it. And sometimes it's because of things that we have been told. You know, some people are experts in making you feel that marriage, you will suffer. People whom we deal with, people with premarital counseling, and some of them, they have been told, you don't know, you are a little child. We are telling you, you are going to have problems. You are pushing this into the mind of the person. So they are looking out for the trouble. So sometimes what is not even trouble, they see it as trouble. So they have been told that marriage is mental health. So they are looking out for the troubles that they will see all the time. And they are torturing themselves, or we are torturing ourselves because of things that other people have said. If we can come with it, I have decided to marry this person. There are, of course, good things about the person why you decided. Nobody sees anybody, sees only the bad things and decide to marry. So why don't you concentrate on the good things and work with that instead of looking out for trouble and putting trouble on yourself? We can help each other and stop thinking that and especially when we are Christians, we can ask God to help us so that our marriage will be different, especially if we've been told all kinds of things that will make us feel that you're going to have trouble. Pray to God that the troubles they are wishing for me, I will not have them. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to look at this also from two different sides, actually, not opposing sides, but all of which are connected to why marriage itself can bring up mental health issues. The way we treat each other within the marriage can create a mental health issue for one, or sometimes even both. You know, somebody who's disrespecting the spouse, they think they're disrespecting the spouse. So after a while, what does the spouse do? They begin to fight back. Before you realize, both of them are really having mental health issues. So that's just one practical example. And I want us also to remember, let's remind ourselves that the expectations we bring into a marriage or we develop within the marriage, those expectations can also bring up mental health issues. If you think marriage is and they lived happily ever after, you signed up for the wrong thing. Because, yes, it's hard work, and you may not be happy every day, simply because you're dealing with another human being. That said, it is completely different when my partner then begins to create trouble within the marriage. So the issues of infidelity or financial, one person is being dishonest about finances, all those, yes, they can create tensions which have mental health implications. But there is one. I want to bring up one from, call it the religious, very Christian angle. It starts from the day people get married. We've had people who tell us they're not going to say the traditional marriage vows. They're going to write their own vows. We had a couple and we asked them, they said they wrote their own vows, and we said, what did you write? Neither of them could remember, and they'd been married less than 7 years. So I said, if you can't remember now, guess what it will be like another 5 years from now. So what is holding the two of you together? The vows are not vows for nothing. So if you have a wedding and you have vows, yes, we take people through the vows, and there is so much scripture and solid heritage behind. A key aspect of the vows we have found, and it's usually in the charismatic tradition. Yes, I am charismatic too, so don't get me wrong. People are refusing to say for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health. We say, oh no, we don't want to bring curses on ourselves. They ain't curses. They're not curses. They're commitments to each other. I will be with you whether we have a lot of money or not. It doesn't mean we're asking to be poor. As a result, we have had to counsel people who are even deciding to divorce because because they're broke as a couple. In fact, one woman said, I have told my husband, the day I find that he's broke, I'm leaving him. So these are not things that you might say, oh, I'm not going to say this. I'm going to say for richer, for richer. It does not happen like that for everybody. Maybe you say it will happen for you. Okay? That might be your level of faith. But how many people have said that, and they have said, for health and for healthier, and have fallen sick? Because you say that, it means you will not fall sick. You can say for healthy, for healthier. And then you don't eat right. You don't exercise. You will fall sick. So these are not things, when we do some of these things, you start life this way. And we have noticed that some of the people we've worked with, they have no perspective of dealing with crises or dealing with stress or tensions, because the mindset is that I am a Christian, everything has to be okay. Everything has to be all right. But life is not that way. One of my personal favorite verses is from the Gospel of John, chapter 16, verse 33. I learned it from the Revised Standard Version as a teenager, and it has become more meaningful to me. This is what it said. Jesus talking to his disciples on the night of the Last Supper, as we call it. He said, in this world, you will have tribulation. That's why I love it. Tribulation is more than trouble. In this world, you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. If Jesus, that's a promise you will have, not you may have. So brothers and sisters, it's part of the mental health we need to have. You need to have how do we say, a holistic perspective. We need to have a realistic perspective that there may be trouble sometime, but we will be prepared for it. And yes, as Christians, we say our weapons for warfare are not carnal. Yeah, so we're ready. That's part of how we also prepare our mental health. But not hide behind things like, I won't say this or I won't say that. No. Let us prepare ourselves and keep healthy in that regard. Thank you.
Awesome. I am taking a lot of notes, and I believe our listeners are also enjoying themselves. Once again, I want to give folks opportunity, just in case you want to reach out. You are welcome to send your message to our WhatsApp line, country code +1, area code 571 337 9185, and then you will be able to ask the question directly. Or in case you are on the line and you also want to speak, you are welcome to unmute yourself and ask the question directly. And again, if you're on YouTube, you can also put your information there, and we'll gladly read that on your behalf. So far, thank you for all the questions that have come in. A couple of more questions here to review, and this question says that how it says societal how do you handle a person who will not acknowledge that there is a problem and needs help? I am on medication for stress and anxiety, and I see it in my partner, but she doesn't see it that way.
This one I pass to the experts.
Dr. The question again.
Sure. The question says that how do you handle a person who will not acknowledge that there is a problem and needs help? I am on medication for stress and anxiety, and I see it in my partner, but she doesn't see it that way.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, Osofo.
Yes, we can now.
So here is the thing. We have to be careful when it comes to trying to kind of get other people to take medication and stuff like that, because number one, people are very resistant to the notion being told that they have mental illness, sometimes because of all the societal stigma, right? And till a person accepts or comes to the place of self-realization that I need help. You really can't help them. And if you push them, they will resist more. They will end up being angry and go extreme. So in situations like that, you have to be tactful and give people the room. When you see things that shows, you gently point out, hey, it looks like you are stressed. It looks like you are really sick. This sounds like anxiety. Hey, this not directly telling the person, this is what I think and you should be on medication for it. They will resist. Even people who have been diagnosed and need to take medication, some are resistant because of the stigma that comes with mental health challenges. So if you have a partner and you think there is something that they don't see, you can gently encourage them to talk to an expert if they are willing to at least do that. But the moment you start pushing, you may need medication and all that, then they will just start resisting.
True. Great. Thank you so much, for sharing that with us. The other question we have here also says that, can emotional, verbal, and mental abuse from a spouse always be attributed to mental illness, or it could just be intentional sometimes?
There are people who are cruel. There are people who are mean. And there are people who have personality disorders. So now the whole topic of abuse is a whole different area. Yes, there are cases where people are abusive because of mental illness. But there are cases where people are abusive just because they have a mean spirit and they are not mentally ill. They are just mean by nature. Sometimes it's a behavior they have learned, they saw it happen in their house they grew in, or saw it happen at a place that they were. That's their notion of what a partner should do. And so that is what they are doing. Some people are very sadistic by nature. And so all that can't be attributed to mental health. But yes, there are times when mental health can do that too.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. For sharing that and responding to that. So we have another question here, which is from Ghana, and it says that what role does culture, perception, and our own doing plays in affecting our relationships and marriage, and then attribute that to witchcraft or mental illness? I don't think I understand the questions, but you are the experts. I think you can, or Mr. Crabbe is a great communicator. You can rephrase that for us.
Maybe the person would like to know where culture feeds into what is going on, like culture and the other things he mentioned, and how we ought to understand, which really is part of the reason for this program, that there are issues that come up. And so that's how I was brought up, or where I come from, this is how men treat women, or husbands treat their wives. But then I need to be able to see what effect is it having on my wife, or my partner, as the case might be, because I may be creating a mental problem without realizing. And then the other aspect of it is where whatever one person is doing, or both are doing, it can lead to something else. Maybe there's an explosion in the relationship, words are exchanged, and then one person might go into a funk, might get depressed, might begin to withdraw, and then what do we sometimes say? Is witchcraft, is the mother or the grandmother or somebody somewhere in their hometown is causing this. I think those are, maybe the person wants to draw those things out so we can separate them. And yes, those things do exist, but when two people are relating to each other, I think we are better off if we start dealing with one or both of us, and then we also look at all other things. Our experts, Reverend and Mrs. Asare Bediako, have been helping us to understand there are real life issues that are mental. Some might be genetic, some are acquired, things like that. But then, and some are, we create them ourselves, and some may come from external sources. So these are all aspects, that we need to look at within a relationship when something is happening, rather than pounce straight on, oh, this is witchcraft, this is demonic, that kind of thing. We actually think it's a very lazy way of tackling some of these issues in life. It's very easy for a husband and wife who are messing themselves up to simply say, this is all the devil's work. Well, you know what we say? Guess who the agents of the devil are? Because if it is his work, who is he using to do his work? And the people being used to do his work need to be aware. And if they are aware, what will they do about it so that the devil can't use them either individually or jointly against their own relationship that they're trying to build? So I think we ought to look at each of them separately. And this is where, for those who are involved in deliverance ministry, it would help, like Mrs. Asare Bediako was saying, if you take up a course, for example, in mental health, so you can understand and be able to differentiate between what is really a medical issue from what is a spiritual issue. Yes, I'm hearing some of you saying, hey, but what is spiritual manifests in the physical? So when it manifests in the physical, wouldn't you treat it? And then you can hit the spiritual as well. So I think that's what we need to do. Mrs. Asare Bediako has emphasized a number of times the need for us to educate ourselves to understand what is really going on. Because I think sometimes also, talking with some of our pastor friends, we say sometimes we are burning a lot of hours praying. When talking to a therapist for 2 hours can make a complete turnaround in a person's life because they begin to understand what they're dealing with. Sometimes we may be adding more stress to somebody who is already unable to pray, is unable to focus, so they're not reading their Bible. And so, somebody is praying and fasting for them, but with a little help, with the therapy we've been talking about, this person will begin to take charge of what they can take charge of in their lives. And yes, we can pray them to that point as well and beyond. So we're not doing an either and that we learn. Actually, it's not just learning. We can discern. That's almost a spiritual thing. But then we have experts like the Asare Bediakos also, who can see somebody, hear somebody, and they know from experience, from their training, this is what they need. And yes, the good thing is that they're also Christian people, so they can also handle the spiritual side as well. They can also tell when this is more spiritual than physical, or this one we need to tackle both. So if you'd like to add some more to that, as you have reference, please go ahead But that's my take on that. Thank you.
I think that we Africans, because of even some African Americans and Islanders, are highly superstitious. So we by nature like to do even the things that we don't do right on the devil and witches and whatever. You are in marriage, you are disrespectful to your husband, you are doing everything you're not supposed to do, and then the man starts seeing some small girl, and then you are blaming his mother in the village that she's the cause and all that. It is you. You know, sometimes we we try to blame the things that we don't do of others, and it's because of our superstitious nature. That's why today any church that you go to and they say it's a prophetic service, is community where they are teaching the word of God is happening because people want to hear. You know, they are coming to tell me something I don't know. People are looking for answers to be embedded in some secret, mysterious, spiritual something. You know, a lot of things is work. And the same as our marriage, the same as our mental health, whatever it is work. Even Adam, when God created him and he placed him in the Garden of Eden, he told him to dress it and keep it. You know, God didn't just say, Adam, just eat. So we all have responsibility in our marriages, in our physical health. So let's sometimes be a little more I don't know what word everything and see our role in all of this. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, it's been a while since we hear from Auntie Love. So, do you want to add something to this as well?
Not really. I just wanted to say that it's very important that we understand that in order to be able to take care of the whole body, the whole being, we don't neglect one part or the other. It's all important. We are spirit, soul, and body. So as we are taking care of our physical bodies and our spirits also, we want to attend to the emotional part to help us to be able to handle the things that we go through in life effectively. And it is not a shame to ask for help. I always say that asking for help is a sign of strength. And when you get to the point where you recognize that you have an emotional problem and you need to talk to someone, that's 50% of your problem solved. If we are able to take that first step, then we know that we are in control. We are not leaving things to the hands of chance, or we are not helpless under the circumstance, but we are in control. We are going to get help for ourselves or for our family or for our friends so that we can be able to live the life that God intended for us to live. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So we will have our last question for the night, and then after the question has been answered, our panelists, all four of them, will have their closing remark or something to inspire us to end the day. The last question is, if your spouse is in denial about their mental health, can you work through their doctor to help raise their awareness to reality?
That's it's a little difficult, because if they are in denial and your spouse is an adult, the doctor cannot force them. The only time that they will be under mandatory treatment is if they are a danger to themselves or other people, or they are functioning, they are doing things, they are doing things that is, their function has been so much impaired that it's a danger to themselves when it gets to that point, you can go to the probate court. You can get, I think, 2 other adults and go to the probate court, and the judge can give an order to treat, and then they can get them to the emergency room or something. But if it is not gotten to that point, you just have to take talking to the person to be able to help, let them understand the need to get help, to know that they haven't done anything wrong, and that getting help is in their favor, and it's something that is within their power, and they have the power to do that, to be able to get their life back. Thank you.
Awesome.
And again, in fact, you have to be very tactful, because if your spouse begins to think that you are trying to undermine them or betray them, and trust is broken, it becomes very hard to gain it back, because they think you went behind their back. So you have to be very, very tactful. Even people have serious mental illnesses that are actual illnesses like schizophrenia or whatever it is. I always say that everybody has somebody they listen to. So you have to find a nice getting the person they listen to admonish them or something. And even that, you have to be careful, because if they think that you are selling them out, it doesn't make things better for your marriage. It rather makes it worse. So somebody has to be really tactful when dealing with people who are refusing to accept that they have mental illness.
Awesome. Well, to that note, that's all the questions we have for the night. We are just about wrapping up at this point. It is 8:58 p.m. Eastern Time, which I think we have exhausted the time. And so at this point, I will ask Reverend and Mrs. Asare Bediako to give us their final wrap-up, and then Mr. and Mrs Crabbe will also add theirs, and then that will be all. So we'll meet again next month.
I just wanted to say that it's just all about education. The coaching program that I talked about earlier, it's for anybody at all. You don't need to have any kind of degree or anything like that, or you just need to have a desire to help people, and then they'll take you through. And I want to encourage everyone, if you have the need for a mental health practitioner, that you should reach out. Because one thing I know is that when you are studying counseling, one of the requirements even for you for graduation is that you have to get some sort of counseling. Either you see a counselor. Some schools it's part of their program that you sign up with a therapist to actually talk to one for whatever reason. I think you have to have a session of counseling, not just one, but like a set of counseling sessions before you can even graduate as a counselor. And that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. So everybody at a point in time will need to talk to someone. So if you need help, or you know someone who needs help, do not hesitate. Especially if you need help, don't be too afraid or proud or thinking about what people will say about you. Just reach out. There are so many ways now. You can go on Google. You can find a Psychology Today. There are so many. There are Christian websites too, Christian counseling websites. So many resources out there to get help. The community have it, the doctor's offices everywhere. But just make sure that you are reaching out. I want to encourage the pastors and those who are in Christian leadership here that they can also take the step to take some of these courses, and so that they can learn and be educated. Because most of the time when people have problems, they go to their pastor. They have mental health issues, they go to the pastor. So if the pastor is at a place where he's able to actually steer them in the right direction, they trust the pastor, they believe in the pastor, they are more likely to get help than from someone else. Thank you.
I think all I just want to add is that in Proverbs chapter 3, I read from verses 5 to 8. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. It will be health to your flesh and strength to your bones." That's why you need to seek the help and not just lean on your own understanding.
Reverend Asare Bediako.
Yes, what I would say is that if anybody is dealing with any form of mental illness that is disabling and that is impacting your ability to function, don't feel shy, don't feel embarrassed, don't feel like you are weak or anything. Seek help. Seeking help is strength. Understand what's going on with you. And if anybody listening to us has been prescribed medication, don't say that I won't take it. It's important to stay on it for your own sake and for the sake of your loved ones. And if you can take good care of yourself, then you can maintain a healthy marriage. Thank you.
So my final word is from Jeremiah, the book of the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 32, verse 27. God speaking to Jeremiah to pass on to the people of Israel, many of them depressed because they were in exile, they had lost their country, or left their country, all kinds of things. Many of us could identify with many of them today. And here's what God says. "Behold, I am the Lord, the God of all flesh. Is there anything too hard for me? Behold, I am the Lord, the God of all flesh. Is there anything too hard for me?" So I close out with, we can always ask God for his wisdom and his guidance. When we don't know what to do, we can ask him. And he can bring helpers our way. He can lead us directly also to people who will show us the right way. So thank you for sharing this time with us. Precious time. Vivian and I have learned a lot ourselves. Thank you for great questions. And we look forward to being with you again next month, third Sunday. God bless you and take care of your mental health. Let's all do that and be better people. Thank you. God bless you. Bye for now.
Thank you. We appreciate your time. God bless you and bye-bye for now.